In this video, we're going to be installing a upgraded radiator for our C5 Chevrolet Corvette Z06 trim from Engineered Cooling Products. So this is a upgraded radiator and it just showed up and it is a really nice looking unit. So it comes with polished tanks, you can see here, but it is substantially larger than a factory radiator. It's got a much thicker core, and this is going to help to bring our temps down. So it comes in a bunch of different variations depending on if you have an automatic transmission and you need the integrated oil cooler for your transmission in the radiator, or if it's a stick car, or if you don't want it all together, or if you're doing something kind of like we are, which is a little bit off of stock, then you can order it in whatever configuration you desire. It does have the provisioning for the AC condenser, your fan on the back, so all of your factory mounting points are going to be here as well. On our particular example here, we picked up this Corvette and it's our road course duty car, so we're going to be putting this radiator through the ultimate test. So it did have a Pro Charger kit on it. We did end up taking it off just because even though we can knock down our coolant temps, we were having a bit of a hard time down here in the south. We're down here central Florida and it's 100 and some odd degrees ambient temps. When we're on the course, we were at Sebring and we're running 30-minute sessions. This thing just could not get rid of the IATs. So all of our temperatures were going up, but we have these tiny little intercoolers. It really wasn't keeping up to the demands with that supercharger just blowing hot air the whole time for 30 minutes straight. So we took it off, and this is kind of why the car is all in pieces and apart. But I want to show you the setup that it currently had. Again, we bought this car only a few months ago or earlier this year, and anything you see here has pretty much already been done by somebody else. No idea what brand this radiator is. Somebody has taken the liberty to mount a oil cooler directly to our radiator, which is effectively blocking half of our airflow through the radiator, and then they put this supplemental pusher fan on top to blow all of this through. So we're going to be reconfiguring all this. I'm also going to be reconfiguring, if you guys want to subscribe to the channel, I'm going to be putting a oil cooler right here. So we're relocating that oil cooler right here in the front, and then our bumper is going to have the mesh on the front, and it's going to be going directly at our oil cooler, and then our radiator can have all the free flow that it needs, and should be a good combo. So if you guys are starting this job and your car's 100% together, don't necessarily have to take off the front bumper, but I would suggest honestly taking off the hood. It really isn't that bad of a job. It's only 4 bolts, and then the whole hood comes off, and then you can stand over the front and not be trying to hang over the fenders and you know, be contortioned into a weird position. This allows you to essentially just lift the radiator right up. So yours might have some different configuration. Mine had some Pro Charger brackets and stuff on here, so my bracketry wouldn't be the same as what yours would be. But once you get those off, this will be able to lift up. If you have an AC condenser, it's going to be hooked into these brackets, and you can essentially, if you're just changing the radiator, you can lift the AC condenser out of the way, slide out your radiator, and then put the radiator back in. You will see that our cooling hoses were off. The other thing that I did do before dropping the coolant is I ran some of this stuff, this CRC Thermocure. If you guys have or haven't tried this, I've tried this on some other projects, and this stuff just removes years worth of nastiness from your cooling system. So I ran this through, heat cycled it through before on my old cooling system, because I figured I would rather any loose pieces or debris in the system get stuck in the old radiator. I don't want that to happen with a new radiator. So I ran this flush through before. That way all that stuff got cleared out, and we're starting off with a new system. Also, this moves a lot of just buildup and different sediment that's even attached to your engine block. So I would highly recommend this stuff. It's cured overheating issues just in itself, just with this stuff. So I'll link that down below for you guys if you want to check it out. I also did put on a new and upgraded water pump at the same time. That way this has the ultimate chance at cooling. So let's go ahead. I'm going to disconnect this, take this off of this radiator. We'll slide this radiator out of here. I'm going to hang this oil cooler down below because I'm going to be obviously reconfiguring the lines, extending the lines and whatnot. And we'll get this out and we'll compare. I don't even know what brand this is, but we'll compare this to our upgraded one. All right, so we ended up getting the oil cooler off, and then there's obviously your upper and lower radiator hose. The one's gonna go to here on your water pump, the other one's gonna go there. And then I'm gonna leave the hoses on the actual radiator itself until we get it up and out of here. There is 2 more hoses here, so we'll grab, I can link these down below for you guys. It's a hose clamp tool, or you can use a set of pliers, whatever you're more comfortable with. take these off of here. One other side note too, there is another cooling mod that I'm going to be doing. I'll show you guys. See this cooling hose that routes from here? It actually goes into the throttle body and then comes out the other side of the throttle body. And essentially what it does is, if you live in a cold climate, it's to prevent the throttle body from freezing up, but it's essentially pumping and heating up the aluminum on your throttle body, which is heating up the air going into your engine. So somebody hasn't bypassed that yet. Back in the Honda days when we were messing with Hondas, when I was a lot younger, we would always do that. That was like one of the first mods we would do, just to try to get every bit of horsepower out of it. But I am going to be bypassing that as well. So just one more thing if you guys are looking for more cooling and more performance. All right, so we got those two hoses off of there. And then our fan wiring is going to be attached as well. So some people choose to leave the fan shroud down here and then just slide the radiator off, or you can disconnect the wiring from your fan shroud and bring it out with it. So either one, and then we can lift this out. All right, so I chose just to unhook my radiator shroud in the back and just let it hang out back here. There's some weird clips on the plugs for the fans. I can't get a visual on them, so it's easier just to slide it off. So I'll try to check them out in a second, because I actually do want to get that radiator shroud out of here, but I'll be able to manipulate it a little better with this out of the way. So now with the hood out of the way, you can just lift this straight up and out of the way. All right, so I got the radiator shroud out of here. It has some clips right here that you have to use a little pick to pry it. They're not the most fun to get out. But you'll notice here, another like just side note cooling thing they can do while everything's apart. So a lot of guys at the track, what they'll do is they'll open these up, all this flat section here, because you want your fans to be able to pull when you're stopped or you don't have enough airflow. But the problem is, once you get moving, these portions actually block airflow, and then it only allows air to flow through the fan, the open areas. So what some guys will do is they'll either Swiss cheese this whole thing, or they will cut openings and then they will put like rubber flaps. A lot of the OEM fan shrouds usually have rubber flaps, but this one, as you can see, this is just what you're dealt with. Air can only pass through the fan openings. So a lot of the radiator, as you can see here, probably like a third of the radiator is actually blocked. So we're gonna go ahead, I'm gonna open this up in various sections. Whether I add flaps later on, I'm not too sure, but for now, I'm just gonna open up a few different areas, probably here, 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 and then there. So I'll show you guys the result of that. I'm just gonna do it with a multi-tool and just open this up. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with the outcome of this, you guys. So ended up opening up these two holes here, and then we opened up this one, and then this one right here. So try to make it look as factory as possible, which I think we definitely accomplished that. Looks pretty decent. And then only thing is, if we ever wanted to, if we were in a lot of stop and go traffic and found that for some reason this was overheating, which I highly doubt since we don't have an AC condenser in front of it, then you could, I left enough room that we could rivet some rubber flaps and cut them out to the same shapes. But this should be good to go. I'm gonna go ahead and clean this off because this thing is absolutely filthy, and then we should be ready to start installing stuff. All right, so just before we install the new radiator, our two fittings right here, they're supplied here in the bag. So I'm gonna put a little bit of Permatex thread sealant on these fittings. We'll screw them in, and then I'm also gonna put our fan assembly on the back here, get that all situated. What's also nice is you'll see right here, there is a provision so that you can actually cinch down those clips. So you can actually put a, looks like an M6 in here and squeeze down that so that your fan doesn't jump around. So I'm probably gonna do that as well, find a few M6 threaded bolts here and get those in as well. So let me get that situated and I'll show you guys. All right, so we got our fan on here. I went ahead and it was M6 threaded bolts. So I just put some short 10 mil headed M6 bolts right there. Put a little bit of Loctite on them. I was missing one tab, so if for some reason your guys' radiator shroud is missing a tab. This was already broken. I guess previous owner must have obviously done it. I just put a little hole through here, and then I tie wrapped around here, so this is still secure. Like, you can pick the whole radiator up with that. Also, I got my hoses pre-installed so that I can just kind of put that in there. The other thing too is make sure when you remove your radiator that you keep your rubber washers. This looks like there's some sort of rubber shim in here, but you want to transfer this stuff over to your new one. So over here, we'll put that there so that that is ready to go as well. And it also looks like this is loose, so we're gonna have to probably put some thread locker on that and snug that guy down. All right, so I put some blue Loctite on that bolt for that stud, and then I put the rubber grommets in that configuration. This one already had some sort of no-name aluminum radiator in it, so not sure what the shim deal is about, but I'm sure you guys can kind of see what your factory setup looks like on your car. And then on that side, there's a little rubber foot, but mine is still attached to the car right here. So that one's still there. There's the hole there for that one. So let's go ahead, put our radiator in, lean it back, and we can get to mounting it. All right, so we've got it in place here. We'll just align our tabs. It's kind of a strange radiator, or it's just a strange car, I should say, to line up. Because normally you're used to just dropping something straight down. This one you gotta get it ready to lean on an angle. She is in place, and that's just gonna lay back like that, and then we'll put our two top brackets on here and get our hoses connected. All right, so radiator's in place, and what I'm gonna show you guys next is one other cooling mod that I'm going to do. So these on an LS engine are called steam ports. So right here on all four corners of our cylinder heads, there is these coolant passages. Some engines have it, some engines don't, but a lot of them are blocked off. So in the back, the steam ports are blocked off. And ironically, a lot of people burn down the back corner cylinders on these aluminum 5.7s. So what I'm gonna do is I've got this kit from Holley, since we're in here with the cooling system. And we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna open up those rear steam ports, and I'm gonna tie it into everything. So this is effectively gonna open up the steam ports. Essentially, if there's any air pockets in the back of our cylinders, then they will allow it to push it out and effectively burp the system. Otherwise, you might be operating under extreme conditions with air pockets in your back cylinder water jackets. So you probably could do it without taking the intake manifold off, but it's gonna be easier, honestly, in my opinion, just to pop the intake manifold off real quick. So let me pop the intake manifold off real quick and we'll get in there. All right, so I just swung the intake out of the way, and here's what I'm talking about. So in the front, you can see the steam ports are bridged, and it's got a port for the coolant. And in the back, they're completely capped off on both sides. So we're gonna install that Holley kit, and it simply is just unscrew those two bolts, screw in the Holley kit. It has a bunch of different accessories and whatnot. So this is gonna go between the two, it's gonna link them, and then this hose is gonna come off and allow us to bring it to the front, and then we're gonna tee it into everything. And here we go. So one of them has this outfit coming from the top here, and then one of them does not. And there's O-rings that come with it. So the O-ring goes on the bottom. This one has two O-rings, one on the bottom, one on the top, to seal to this top port. And then we can put this in and link it with this piece, this cross piece, and then we can route it to wherever we please. All right, so I've got the Holley steam port kit in here, so you can see that is right there. So we got these nice little billet aluminum pieces, and then the crossover line comes to there, and then it goes out on the 90. And then I ran it around, out of the way, tucked it nicely through here, and then I went and picked up just a 1/4 inch brass tee, and then this goes to there, and then this one goes to our radiator. So we're not gonna run it through the throttle body anymore. It's just gonna be effectively bypassed, but now steam can escape from our block wherever it needs to, go back into the radiator. This hose will go back up to here, it'll burp the whole system. So just a better setup overall. So I'm gonna go ahead, put my intake manifold back on, bolt that back down, and we'll get back to what we're doing here. All right, guys, so I wanted to give this new radiator setup a fair chance and test before I updated you guys. So I'm sure you guys could figure out how to get that in, you know, from where we left off, but the new radiator is in. I ended up putting new hoses on it, so upper and lower. Found out after a little while that the lower radiator support that was on here was a ProCharger modified unit, so it had the radiator further forward and laying down more, so that's why my lower radiator hose was a different length. Other than that, I'll show you guys a few other things I end up doing. Obviously the setup is completely different now. We've completely removed the supercharger. We've got one of these MSD Air Force intakes on here, but I still wanted to maintain and retain our steam ports from the back. So the back goes over to here. I've got this T fitting, comes over here, and then the 2 Earls fittings there. And then what I ended up doing was, this is just a 1/8 NPT port. So I swapped this out for an AN fitting. So this goes from 1/8 NPT to a -4 AN. And then that goes to there, and that goes to my T fitting. So really happy with the way it came out. As far as temps go, everything is running really cool. I've got a 160 thermostat in here, and when it's like 100 degrees ambience, and then like a feels like with the humidity temperature of like 110, this thing is staying like 185 the whole time, even in traffic. So huge cooling improvement. I'm really happy with the results. I will link everything that I use down in the description below. Really happy with this radiator upgrade. Also, I did some other cooling mods, so if you guys are into Corvettes, you can also see the hood vents as well to get some of that heat out and just further things. So thanks for watching. Check the link below for everything. Give it a thumbs up before you take off. Subscribe if you guys want to be notified for the latest content when I post a new video. I'll see you guys on the next one.